live.
You're ready, okay. Good evening, I call the meeting of the Franklin School Board to order. The Franklin School Board is meeting in the Franklin High School cafeteria on August 23rd, 2022. I have called this meeting to order at 6:09. At this time, if we could all stand and salute the flag, which is directly behind everyone.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Colleen with the meetings posted as is required. Thank you very much. Agenda item 2 is our school board student member presentation, and we got Lily with us tonight. Good evening, Lily. So if you just want to give your presentation on your student representation.
Actually, it's just that she's a member now.
Oh, she's a
Sit
member.
on the board.
Oh, okay.
So,
You didn't tell me this.
you've been on vacation. So a new RSA went into effect in New Hampshire that a high school student should sit on every school board in the state of New Hampshire.
Correct.
As a non-voting member.
Yep.
So Lily is our student representative, and she has graciously agreed, for the time being, to sit on as our non-voting student member from Franklin High School. So Lily, we're very happy you're here. And we definitely want your input. So when we start to talk about things, it's really important for you to not feel like you can't interject and give us student perspective, because that's really important to everybody here. So that's why you're going to be sitting here.
And Lily, you don't have to give a report today. Those butterflies go away?
Well, I do have stuff.
Okay.
She's got it down there on number 6.
All right. Agenda item 3 is our public participation. During our public participation, I give no more than 30 minutes to this session. I've asked that each person that addresses the school board speaks no more than 3 minutes, and please tell us where you live and what ward you live in. If we are unable to get through the 30 minutes without everybody having an opportunity to talk, I do have a second public session participation at the end of my meeting, in which at time you can address the board. At this time, would anybody from the public like to address the school board? Go ahead, sir. You just stand up, state your name and what ward you live in, sir.
Yama Ploskonka, Ward 3, thanking the school board for the opportunity of having been a coach for the middle school team robotics for the previous season. Yesterday I was informed that I was no longer in that position, so here I am trying to see if we can talk about the next season. I believe that we can do excellent things. We managed to arrive to a 5th place during the one competition that we attended. This is the second time in history in Franklin that a robotics team of any level has arrived to playoffs. So I already sent by email a report of what was last season, and my wishes that we continue in the future. We believe that there is good potential from the kids to do excellent things, to really go above what they themselves perceive as their limits. There are no limits when you dare to look forward. That's what I wanted to share. Thank you.
Any other public participation? Okay, seeing none, I will close that portion of my meeting. Agenda item 4 is recognitions. At this time, any administrators or school board members would like to recognize anybody, please go ahead and be recognized.
Yeah, I'd like to make
Go
a
ahead,
recognition. I wanted to recognize Bob and Janet DeRosia for a generous donation of notebooks and pencils and markers that they delivered to the SAU last week. I just think it's just so generous of them and all of the other people that just step up at the beginning of the school year to help the kids of Franklin. It's really amazing every year when people step up, and I just wanted to recognize them for that.
Thank you. Any other recognitions this evening?
I just wanted to welcome the new principals and assistant principals to Franklin. I've given you each a little cup to start off. It's my trade that I do for all new administrators, so welcome to our district.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Deb.
And the reminder to the principals is when things get tough, your cup is half full, not half empty.
Any other recognitions? All right, seeing none, I will close that.
I'd like to
Oh, go ahead,
recognize-
Christine.
I'd like to recognize Jewel Finley for her 2 final productions for a little bit at Franklin. She had The Lion King and just recently, and I've heard it went over well. I was not able to go to it, but I heard it went very well, and I'd like to thank her because she's put a lot of herself into our community for a very long time.
Thank you, Christine.
Thank you.
Any other recognitions? Okay, seeing none, I'll close that portion. Agenda item 5, we have an update on our Makerspace presentation. As you know, we've partnered with the Makerspace. They were in our middle school, did 2 programs in our middle school for cooking and wood shop, and they're here to talk a little bit more about the Makerspace and their vision of what they'd like to see. So, Bill, are you going to start?
Yeah.
Okay.
Very good. Hi, everyone. I'm Bill Iacobucci. I'm the chairman of the board of Franklin Makerspace. I have some other board members here with me, of course, today. We've got Judith, we've got Jim, we've got Colby back there. And as he mentioned, as Tim mentioned, we have started doing after-school programs in the middle school last year, and we also this summer have done one with the Parks and Recs department as well. So we're pretty excited about that. So for those of you that may not have been here last time, basically, oh, by the way, class of '86, Franklin. But yeah, so basically our mission as a makerspace is to enhance our community by sharing resources and knowledge of arts and technical innovations in a collaborative environment. So when we look at that, we always are looking at how can we provide the greatest impact to the community. So what we are proposing is, and this will be done over a long period of time. We don't expect anything to be done tomorrow, and this is obviously with the input of all the appropriate stakeholders. But for those of you that were in and around my class year, like Tim, you remember that we used to have an industrial arts program in Franklin. And then maybe about, I don't know, 10 or 15 years after we graduated, all the equipment was removed, and that was discontinued. And currently our students, if they have interest in those things, have to go to the Hewitt Center in Laconia. And we don't expect that's going to change anytime soon, but we can still help. So our basic recommendation is any space that we can get in here, of course, is appreciated and can help. We do feel that long-term it would be beneficial to have what was the old industrial arts wing, just because that's where the electrical was for that. That's where a lot of the stuff previously existed, and we. Sorry, just a little mental stop here. But yeah, so we, so there's that, and.
So, do you mind if I?
Yeah, you jump in. Sorry, just got over COVID, so I think that's maybe that COVID fog they tell you about. Okay,
Jim Jones, Ward 2, 72. There are things that we can bring to the student population today on a limited basis and a limited amount of space. We possess 5.
Oh, I was going to get that.
Yeah.
That's okay. Yeah.
What do they call them? Come on, help me.
Okay, help me. Okay, 3D printers.
3D printers, thank you.
Yeah.
Not my forte. I'm the woodshop guy. So that's something we can put into a classroom, and if there's faculty interest, after being trained, in a classroom that can be secured, because that stuff is very delicate and can be damaged easily. We don't want kids in there without supervision. That's something that we can share right now, our resources to the student population. The ideal spot would probably be here at the high school. We could do a class at the middle school or even at Bessie Rowell. It's somewhat portable, take a little bit to pull it all together. We have acquired quite a bit of equipment, woodworking equipment, metalworking. We are still looking to acquire some welding equipment. I hadn't had a chance to sit back with Dan, but there is currently a kiln over at the middle school that's not being used. There is some woodworking equipment that's not being used. There is another planer. There's another joiner. We happen to have one. There's another bandsaw that's not being used that we don't have. So there's an opportunity maybe to mix and match and borrow or whatnot, but that could be down the road. I am really happy to be able to share with you that we have been able to pull together a culinary after-school program and another wood shop after-school program. However, we learned from last year. It's difficult. There were just 2 of us in the wood shop, and I believe there was 2, sometimes 3 in the culinary. What we discovered is that it's not for everyone. We would hope that we would have sign-ups, and then we would have a faculty member kind of go through that and say, yes, these are kids that will get something out of it, and that you're not going to have to babysit, but will actively participate. It's really, especially in the wood shop, culinary too. I mean, you can get burned or cut with a knife, but there's so many pieces of equipment. None of those pieces of equipment run unless there's one-on-one supervision. My goal last year, and my goal even with the summer program, was that every kid that showed up, hands-on, ran every piece of equipment, even if that meant my hands were on their hands. We had one near mishap, scared the Jesus out of me, but after calming the girl down and calming myself down, I said, hold up your hands. I said, you have 10 fingers. Do you know why you have 10 fingers? Because you listened and you did exactly what I told you. Things can happen. You're working with equipment and wood and knots and everything else. But you have 10 fingers because you listened. The end of the first semester, first period of the after-school program last year, this was one of my proudest moments. And I've coached a lot over the years and had a lot of proud moments. But I asked the kids what they learned from woodshop. We had talked a lot about community. We had talked a lot about volunteerism. And the first 5 comments were nothing about woodworking. They were about volunteerism, they were about community, they were about being active and participating. And that was, for me, that made it. It didn't matter if they learned anything about woodworking. And of course they did. So this year, sign-ups, I think we need to limit it probably to 7th and 8th graders, no more than 8 per class. I know that's not a lot to affect, but that's all being volunteers that we can handle appropriately. And I'd like to ask that we find a faculty member to kind of vet those kids and say, yes, these are the right ones for you. Back to the makerspace and the vision. There are 4 demographics that we hope to hit. Students, by exposing them to things that aren't currently here. Trades, crafts, that population that's lost, that recent high school graduate that maybe tried college, maybe didn't, maybe is at a dead-end paycheck to paycheck job and is looking for something more and is willing to put the time in to learn. That's an important demographic to me. I want to get those kids a career rather than just a paycheck. Then we're going to have 154 new residents here in town shortly. My guess is that those are going to be millennials. People that choose to live where they play rather than where they work. Now that's great for a lot of reasons. That gives us a broader tax base. That's probably not bringing a lot of students into the schools right off. But we have to keep them here. We have to give them the things that they need to be able to stay here and raise a family. And one of those things is a makerspace, a place where they can go and either support a craft that they have a passion for, or learn something new, or maybe just become a part of a little community, a little sub-community that's the Makerspace members and teachers. And then the fourth demographic I fit into very nicely. I am been looking to retire for about 5 years. I don't know if it'll ever happen. I have a wood shop in my basement. My goal is to downsize and have 2 residences, one in Wolfboro and one here, that I don't have to maintain, so that I can take the time that I'm put into my crafts and woodworking and whatnot, and have a space to do that. I have tools that I will donate to the Makerspace. But I would want to be an active member, not only teaching, but be able to go in and just use it on my own. And that's the fourth demographic. In order to do those 4 things, it's paramount that we secure a space big enough to do it all in one place. I think after talking with Dan and Tim and powers to be at the city, that the high school probably presents the best opportunity to bring everything together. Dan knows our vision of where. It's going to take time. I can't share all of this, but if there was a need to relocate offices, there's even money available to do that and make that happen. It's not grant money, but it's kind of like grant money through another local organization, nonprofit. So there are ways to accomplish this. It's got to be on your timeline. It's got to be with the buy-in of the school board that this is the right place, that they're behind the Makerspace for the community. And one of the catches is that being in the school, there's got to be a separation, a security separation. The equipment that we might locate here would be available to any teacher or faculty member that wanted to become trained and either do an after-school program, or maybe there would be study hall time that it could be used. So it would be available to them. But on the flip side, Makerspaces are supported by memberships, and our members have to have a place to go after school, weekends, summers, where they can get in, be secure, not get into the school, and have a space to do their craft. So I don't know if I probably stepped all over Bill's presentation.
Could I
but
step over your toes?
Certainly.
Okay. Back in the 80s, I was the coordinator of the Franklin School volunteer program. And, my job was to go out and just encourage people to come in and help out with teachers, as a teacher's aide or that sort of thing, but as volunteers. And as such, I belong to a statewide organization of volunteer coordinators, and I was a volunteer, it wasn't a paid position. And one of the things that we kept foremost in our mind was that one of the best ways to get your tax day population in your community excited about the schools, or to feel some ownership for the schools, not just in paying their school portion of their taxes, but in saying, we own that building, and we should be able to benefit from it. And if you can open the doors to adults in some fashion and let them see that this is a really living school that's here for everyone, because we all want to continually learn throughout our lifetime, this is a facility that really the taxpayers own. And one way to get them to feel pride in that ownership and to want to continue to support this structure, all 3 of our structures, is to give them a little piece of it. Let them experience it. Let them use the classroom for whatever their interest is. And it will trickle down. It will make them proud to be paying their tax money. So I'm definitely coming into this project with that background in mind, that the schools belong to everyone, and it's time we let everyone in, within reason, and with all the security that you need. But it is very doable, and I think it will pay huge dividends all the way around. Okay, that's
Okay, thanks for taking the rest of my stuff. And again, I do apologize, sorry. It's been a long day at work. One thing I'll mention to you today is, actually while I was working, I was also doing a Zoom, which is not the best thing because I was driving, but at least I just had it on the audio only. But that was with the Makerspace Network. There's actually a New Hampshire Makerspace Network. We are probably the 8th one to join. This is certainly not a new concept. It's been around for many years. The one in Nashua, Manchester, they've been around for about 10 years. These are, done worldwide. So that's a nice thing too, is we get the resources from communicating with each other. And one thing I noted through our connection with them is that most of these really successful makerspaces had a connection to education. For example, the Concord Makerspace, which has been around for several years, recently lost their lease where they were, and their new home is going to be on the campus of New Hampshire Tech. So that's pretty impressive that they'll be there. There is a makerspace in Amherst that is in the middle school. It was started by the school themselves and then opened it up to the general public. So I see that there's a lot of connection between these two things where we can enhance the resources we have by working together. So it's, again, I know these guys kind of covered me and took some of that stuff, but I guess maybe if you don't have anything else, do we want to open up to any questions?
I do have one other thing.
Okay, go ahead.
So I had the opportunity to meet our new high school principal and our new middle school principal. I have not met Paul Smith principal. Where am I? Right there. Hi. Our high school principal has some experience with very like projects, and I think is going to be a huge asset. But I want to put it out to all of you and to your teachers and faculty. We are looking for people that crochet, people that hook rugs, people that weld, any of the crafts, pottery. If there's an interest, if there's somebody that's done it before, maybe somebody that's retired that has the time to teach, the one thing we can do today, whether it be here or at Bessie Rowell, or I'm sure we could do something at the middle school, is we can provide classes and generate an interest and hopefully find new membership for a makerspace. So put it out to your friends, your relatives. Well, maybe not your relatives, no, go ahead. Put it out to your relatives. But to your teachers and faculty, and see what their interests are. We might be surprised at what resources are right here within the schools that could partner with us and get us to where I hope we can be in the next year or so, maybe quicker. So I gave you all homework. School hasn't even started. Thanks for indulging me.
I support this. I think it's a wonderful idea. But one of the things that is really important to us on the school board, I think I can speak for all of us, is that the safety of our kids. And I want to make sure that anyone that is willing to teach the kids is also willing to go through a background check, because we want to make sure that they're safe in all ways.
Well, I can answer to the fact that all of us involved, including myself and Jim, that are involved in the after-school programs did go through the background check process first. And we would expect that to continue with anyone that's going to teach. Now, we may again not provide teachers for during the school day, but we'll have the equipment that's available where teachers can have access to it. But again, the after hours is where we would have individuals that we would have teaching. Now, as far as security goes, that's something I can speak to. I was a former police officer with Tim here in Franklin way back when, late 80s, early 90s, I think. And then after that, I got into a career in security and safety for industry. I spent about 25 years doing that. I am an expert in access control. So when people say, oh, there's no way to properly protect something, I'm like, well, you don't know what you're talking about. and I do. No, that sounds, but, yeah, so these things can certainly be done properly and safely. And actually, if anything, I think that a makerspace actually improves the safety of a school, because if you look at a lot of the people that have become, shooters, if you want to go to that level, they are the people that feel outside of the norm. They don't have any connection to people, and something like a makerspace is a great way to bring people together. A lot of people that are makers are kind of somewhat loners a bit, but by bringing them together, then they have that community feeling. They share their ideas, and their ideas actually become better because they're sharing it with other people. So overall, we will definitely be a benefit to the student body. I mean, we're all dealing with the fact of the kind of post-COVID where kids have been stuck at home for a long period of time. It's caused a lot of depression, things of that nature, and this is a great way to get over that. And also, I think one of you guys, Judith or Jim, mentioned, I think, maybe both of you, people that went out to high school and have since graduated, bringing them back in as well is very important to us, to give them that same benefit that we wish to provide to everyone going forward. Learning is no longer you get a degree and then you go off to work and that's it. Learning is throughout your lifetime, and you have to keep up with technology, and we want to be able to continue with that. Also, we've been dealing with all the major manufacturers around here. I've talked to Watts and some of the others, and they are very interested. Matter of fact, they had offered many years ago to provide some equipment to the school. Now, at the time, they weren't in a position to take them up on that. But the main thing we have to be concerned with all these manufacturers is that they're going to be patient to an extent, but if we can't provide them with adequate workers that can do the basic jobs for them, they will move elsewhere. Perfect example of that was up in Meredith. There was a company called EFI, and they made large format printers, and and by the way, my other job that I'm doing right now to allow me to do this is I work for Lakes Region Airport Shuttle. So I'm constantly bringing people that are coming to the area for vacation, sometimes for business, and EFI was one of our biggest customers. And so over the time, I'm bringing these people to the airport, and we talk. We get to know each other. They know that I have some industrial experience, and they say, Bill, we're having a hard time finding good workers. We've all heard that before. But then over the course of the next month, when I pick them up again and say, we can't find even bad workers. We can't find anybody. And then they're like, we hate to think of moving. We all love being here. Most of them most of the execs have a house on the lake, and they have a 5-minute commute to that facility. And then the next time I'm talking to them, it's like, we have to go. And right now, they have a brand new facility in Manchester near the airport. And that stuff, by the time you recognize this thing, these things, it can be too late. And that's what we want to do. We want to put ourselves in a position where we can give people the skills that they need to keep these employers in town. Yes?
Can I ask a question, Tim? I'm Barbara Slayton. I'm the coordinator of school wellness, so
Yes.
mental health and school safety is what I do. So I'm glad you mentioned that. But to piggyback on what Christine was saying, I guess I have a concern or maybe a suggestion that I totally agree that what you're suggesting provides something to grab onto for those kids who are struggling the most. At the same time, if you choose 8 kids based on teacher recommendations, you're not going to be hitting the kids who are struggling the most. You're going to be hitting the top of the top, and you're going to be leaving behind those who really need it. So I guess I just have a concern about how you would choose kids to participate in this program.
Well, in general, too, I know Jim had mentioned getting some feedback from the teachers. Maybe the best way to put it is not so much who's the cream of the crop, but what are the issues that student would potentially struggle with, and if so, is there a way to accommodate that during the process? So yeah, we definitely want to reach all these students, And sometimes the ones that have a little trouble, it's because they haven't found where they belong yet. So yeah, we certainly don't want to exclude people. Again, in the beginning of this program, obviously we have to, shake the rust off and figure it out along the way. But no, I definitely would like us to again, if you have someone that you suggested,
No,
for example.
it's not specific students.
No,
it was
not
just
specific,
The
but
way
I'm just
you
saying in
presented it,
general.
it sounded like you struggled with some of the behaviors of some of the kids, and those are the students that you don't want in the program, because you don't have the capacity to have enough hands-on, which I totally understand. But I see a missed opportunity there for working with kids who really need a connection.
I can fill in
Yep.
one little part of that. I know in a particular culinary class, there were students who were really, they weren't paying attention. They didn't really want to be there. And they finally said to the volunteer instructor, I'm only here because my mom didn't want to pay to have me go over to the rec center. She wanted me to be somewhere after school, but she did not want to pay, and this is free, so she made me come here. And no, I really am not interested in what we're doing. And that kid acted out. So that's one thing that we have to be mindful of. It's not a babysitting service.
No.
And the other part of it is that the people that are volunteering their time, they're not trained professionals like you are to know how to handle kids who have all kinds of issues. It's just not part of their training. And they're happy to give their time, they put an awful lot of effort into it, but they're also not psychologists, they're not trained to deal with student behavior problems. So it's not so much that you're trying to exclude certain kinds of kids, but you also have to recognize that some of the kids that were in that class really wanted to be there and really wanted to do the job, but they had kids around them who were really messing things up. So that's another element of it. It's not, because there are kids who have problems, but if they come into that class, they're really gonna wanna do it. And those are probably some of the things that you're talking about, and they'll be welcome. But kids that don't wanna be there, do not belong there because mom and dad don't wanna pay the rec center to keep them. And that was the big issue.
There's some questions on this now, lady.
Oh, sorry.
I fully support this entire concept. It's quite apparent that this is going to be an extended conversation to bring this around to resolution. I'd like to propose that we bring this to the Innovation and Improvement Committee to try to boil this down to maybe one or two proposed solutions, and then bring it back to the full board for discussion and vote on how we move forward with this.
Delaney chairs our
Committee for the school district, so I sit on it also with them, and help me out, Lori, yeah.
And actually, that's why,
So we can get you into some other groups and stuff like that, so, yeah, we'll definitely, we have a meeting August 31st, I don't know if that's too short of a, next Wednesday, I don't know if that's too short, because we can put it under other, if you wanted to come in and kind of talk a little bit, either Jim or Bill. And that's at, help me out, Dan, 5:30. 5:30, yep. I tried to lose my meetings, right at the SAU office.
oh, I see.
Yep, all right.
Yeah, we don't expect to have all the, we really shouldn't be getting into the weeds and the details. That is not, again, this is something that would be collaborative between all of us to ensure that we're doing the right thing. There's issues to be worked out and discussions to be had, and we don't have any preconceived notions. We just, as we,
If as a school board, that you would like to see a partnership with the Makerspace, then that was our goal tonight. Figuring out how to do it is a whole nother avenue. As far as the after-school program and the volunteers, I will share this with you. I had some even fourth graders in there. The ones that concerned me were the ones that were a disruption to the others. There's very strict rules in the wood shop. When somebody's on a machine, nobody's in front of them in their sight line of sight. There's no talking behind them. Those are the things that I need to stay away from. You would be, and I'd be happy to share it with you at some point, I don't have the pictures right with me, but you would be amazed at the projects that came out of that group. More sophisticated, the first group I said, dream. Let me know what you'd like to build. And sometimes you had to scale it down a little bit and make it happen. But we built some really kick-butt projects that were beyond what I thought they were capable of. But the ones that bought in, the ones that listened and pay attention, excelled. And they brought some of the other ones with them. Competition breeds excellence. Ooh, I like that. How do I do that? And my other thing is that I can teach. I've coached for years. But the best learned lessons is when someone can teach it. So a student helping another student was how it happened. So I hope that addresses your question.
Oh, I was just gonna ask about, if there was gonna be a committee to talk about all the logistics of it.
It's gonna go on that
And
too.
that's when he said that, I was fine.
Laurie, did you have a question?
I was just gonna say, experience with the culinary program and working with the kids, I agree with Barb that some of the kids that maybe might have had a little bit of an issue in the beginning, were doing it out of attention. And once they were brought in and shown that like, hey, you can do this, and kind of not buy into what they were doing, but to like get them involved, make them feel part of it, there was a definite difference in those kids. I think one of the things that they're looking at adjusting is the size of the class. And there is a little bit of a hard time with the expanse in age, right? I actually hate to see it just go to the older kids, because I think there was some of the younger kids that really benefited, so maybe split classes or something like that. Because I think, earlier you can get some kids in. There was one kid that was 5th grade, and that was like his thing. Yeah, he loved being there, and he wanted to be there. So it would be great to continue with the younger kids as well.
He was self-directed.
Yeah.
So obviously, as Bill said, this is gonna, and Jim knows, this is gonna be a long-term procedure. And for transparency, as I've told the board, I've met with Mayor Brown, I've met with Bill. I support this program, as I know all of you have voiced your support for this program. Superintendent Legallo has met with Mayor Brown, has met with Bill, has met with Councilor DeZuna. It is something we support, so what we will continue to do is I will continue to represent this board at these meetings with Bill and Mayor Brown and any of the city councils, and they all know, all parties involved. I've told every single one of them that when a partnership is formed, the final decision will be done by the board of 9. It can never be done by a person of 1. Okay, so no decisions, no agreements will ever be made until it's brought before the school board and voted on as a whole school board. Okay, so we'll continue to, I wanted Bill to be able to come in and give a presentation of what's going on along with Jim and everything, so the board was up to date on what's happening. As Jim said, we're gonna have a continuation of woodshop and cooking in our middle school, which I know was a very successful thing, and I know the city council talked a lot about it, and we're very happy with the success of it. All right, so as we move forward, I believe there's a meeting scheduled again, Dan. You have another meeting scheduled with?
Dave and I have a meeting with the Makerspace folks in mid-September. We're gonna Dave, let him get his feet wet, get a lay of the land, so we'll be having that interim meeting, and I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about it at I2, and we'll go from there.
So again, Dave, I did forget, I apologize, Dave's included in this, he's been kind of brought into this, so, so the door, we definitely want to work with you. We do want to continue this. I know anything that's a success for our students, as you know, I completely support. I have supported it for the last 9 years I've been on the board. So if it means bettering our education and bettering our kids, I'll support it. I definitely support it. And by the sound of talking to the board, it's the same way. So we will continue working with you guys. We'll continue having our meetings, and hopefully we can find a common ground for all of us.
Excellent, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. All right, I'm going to move on to agenda item 6. At this time, we're going to have our Franklin High School representative report with Lily. So Lily, you're up this time.
So I typically try and speak to the things that I serve on, because I serve on several different school group committees that are student-run groups, and we interact with administration. We've gotten to meet our lovely new principal, Mr. Levesque, and we've been planning for some of our main fall events throughout the summer so that we don't rush into it once we get into the school year. So for student council, we have an orientation night for all of our freshmen, any new students that came to the district for high school, and any exchange students. I believe we're anticipating 2 or 3 this year. So we've been planning for that and trying to make it kind of an inclusive event with some exposure to the school again, just to get a layout of what the physical building looks like, and have clubs there so that they have an idea of what's available to them, because a lot of new students come into the school and it takes them probably a semester or better to really get a feel for what's available at the school, because there's some depth to it. I know it took me a little while to catch on when I was new here, but so orientation night is September 1st, so right before school starts. And then, keeping with tradition, we have homecoming, which will be at the end of September, and this year we are able to have a kickoff event. The last 2 years with COVID, we haven't been able to have the whole school together all at once. So we're very excited to have that opportunity. It'll make it feel a little bit more of a community school event instead of just us in our classrooms doing our own thing and not feeling as connected to the whole situation. So we have kickoff event, we have themed spirit weekdays, we have the parade, which goes through downtown. We're planning a team feed event right after the parade, the dance, which is a bonfire on the lower field. And then we have kind of class competitions associated with all of this, which encourages participation, but it's typically just a fun kind of thing that will bolster like how much enjoyment the students get out of it. So that's student council pieces, and that's the simple version. And then I also lead National Honor Society, and we have a blood drive that we're planning at the beginning of October. That's the 3rd, I believe. So that's involving Red Cross, and we're planning and going to have the gym as our space for that. That hasn't happened in at least a few years. And then I also created an outreach initiative for fundraising, which I've been working with my group advisor and other team leaders for. But we got Watts to sponsor us already. It's stoles. So when we graduate, people wear stoles if they're part of the National Honor Society. And they cost a little bit of money, and since we don't have many fundraising opportunities, I figured that I would try and make local business connections and see if they were interested in being part of that. So I was very happy to get a very quick response for that. And then I have a project that I'm working with the mayor and the city on, but I can't really say too much about that because it's in its very beginning stages. What I can say is that they're hoping to bring back more diverse opportunities for recycling in the city, and we're trying to have the National Honor Society and possibly other schools, middle school, maybe even the elementary school, involved in that. But I anticipate that to go through most or all of this school year until it's finalized. And then, yeah, I mean, everything else is looking pretty good. Sports, it's nice to see that sports numbers are up, because in past years, sometimes we have small teams. Field hockey and soccer could be a little bit better, but we're fielding, so it's good. But yeah, that's all I have for my summer knowledge.
Does anybody have any questions for Lily?
Very well done.
Nice job, Lily. All right. We'll close that item and we'll move on to agenda item 7. Agenda item 7 was approval of our prior board minutes, which were June 21st, 2022. So I need a motion on that, please. Don't all speak up at once. The ladies made a motion to approve the board minutes of June 21st, 2022. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Deb. Are there any corrections to be made? Okay, seeing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? 1 abstention by Cecile. Correct. The ayes have it, and the minutes are approved. We'll now move on to agenda item 8, which is our financial report, and we'll turn that over to our Business Administrator Jefferson to go over his report.
Okay, good evening, everybody. I'm going to be throwing a lot of numbers at you, so if you glaze over, that's quite all right. I've uploaded the latest version of the financial reports to the school board folder. Hopefully you've had an opportunity to review them. I am close to finishing my reconciliation of all the accounts for the year end of last year, ending June 30th of 2022. As of the snapshot of the financial reports that I've uploaded, the total general fund revenue so far to the year, I know it's changed a little bit since that last week when I put these reports in, was $14,849,432 and change. Our expenditures were $14,647,916 and change, with outstanding purchase orders totaling $451,552. With a fund balance at the beginning of last year of $1,523,271, currently leaves the district at the end of this past year, ending in June, with a fund balance of $1,273,235. $850,000 of that fund balance was already projected for the FY23 budget, which we are now entered into as of July 1st and was approved by the city. So at this point, this leaves an additional balance of $423,235 to request further appropriations from the city council once those numbers are solidified. We are also going to be most likely receiving additional adequacy aid in 2 forms. One is from the original formula this year based on what's average daily membership, ADM, which is the amount of time a student spends in the school or in residence of the city of Franklin. The DOE had estimated our adequacy aid based off of an ADM of around 895 students. We actually ended the year with 915.01 ADM. So this will basically, when I roughed out the calculation of the formula, adds about $195,000 roughly dollars to what we will be getting from the state. So that would be something that we would have to bring forward to the city council to appropriate further towards our budget if we wish to do so. And if anybody's been paying attention, the legislature also recently passed a bill called SB 420, which was for establishing an extraordinary need grant for schools. The focus of this bill, which was signed and is in effect, will provide additional funding through the adequacy aid formula to those districts that have larger socioeconomic challenges, such as Franklin or Berlin or Manchester or whatever else. They sent out a list, I don't have it in front of me, but I do remember the numbers off the top of my head, that you would be, it's for the next 2 years, and these are estimates because it's still based on what our ADM calculation will be. They anticipated an approximate additional amount of funding to the Franklin School District of around $350,000 for FY23, and I believe it was around $260,000 for FY24. Again, those final numbers won't be known until everything's plugged into the adequacy aid formula and the actual ADM at the year end has been established. Those numbers aren't provided to us until October 1st. So we don't really know that, and that's when they send that out. That's what our actual adequacy aid number will be with all those pieces, and that's just because it's right before tax rate setting time. Further on, our food service program has had a very promising and active year this year because of the USDA providing free meals for everybody within the district. That program is ending this June 30th, and the start of the new school year, we'll be going back to normal operations, although we did continue to provide meals and services through the summer this past year, which has been something we haven't typically done before COVID came along. Our food service program recognized $980,313 of revenue, our expenditures of approximately $798,882. And this shows the food service program ended in the black with a fund balance of approximately $181,431. This will reduce a little bit once I finish distributing some costs associated with unemployment and work comp insurances. So we actually had a very good year for our food service program.
You're first.
Yes.
It's been a long time.
Yeah.
Jefferson, can I interrupt you?
Sure.
Can you, on SB 420, I mean, I have the bill and I've read the bill. Can you just explain that we have to come with a plan to be submitted to DOE?
Yes.
So people are
Yeah,
aware of that?
The Department of Education, will be holding a training, I believe September 15th. And what they're requiring from the districts that are getting this additional funding to put together an accountability plan. Obviously, we don't know quite what that looks like yet. They haven't sent out any of that documentation yet, and they are obviously providing training in September, but the money is coming our way regardless. We just have to come up with that plan on how we intend to spend that money. So once we get those specifics, we will be able to provide that information to the board at that point.
Thank you, Jefferson.
So those documents will have what you can actually spend the money on.
Yes, and obviously the parameters of what they are focusing on. One other thing I needed everybody to do, since we had the bid on the paving project at the middle school, I had sent out the emails requesting the board members to choose whether they approve or not approve the bid. We only had one vendor that supplied us with a bid. Fortunately, the bid came in at $69,835. This paving project was to pave the IT parking lot over at the middle school, which is on the far side of the building, and around back to redo an access road and pave or repave a basketball court down back for the students to play and reposition the basketball hoops so that that can be used as a recess area. The school board had approved back on the June 21st meeting $80,000, so the bid fortunately came in less than that. We already had the result of what the board members voted for, but I do need the board to ratify those decisions tonight. I don't know how the process is for
Do you
that.
still have the email on that?
I have my email. I printed everything out and gave that to Colleen for documentation and backup.
Can I have that for a second, Colleen, please? All right, due to time constraints, we asked Jefferson during the finance meeting to send out an email because we wanted to get this done, and we were very much on a time constraint due to the one bid we got in was through GMI, and we wanted to get this done very quickly.
Yeah, actually, I wanted to speak to that. They actually are doing the project right now, and
Yes,
it's
they
expected
are.
to be done in the next day or two. So
So-
that was an urgency because they knew they could get the job done before school started. And once we knew that, we wanted to be expeditious in the whole process.
So for the record, I'm going to read in the email that was sent out to all school board members. The school board, hello all, the school board approved $80,000 at the June board meeting for the paving of the IT parking lot and behind the school at the middle school. We had received only one bid from GMI Asphalt for $69,835, which is less than what was approved. GMI has stated that they would like to move forward with this immediately. We discussed this at the Finance Committee last night, and I would like to have the board approve this bid through email as soon as possible instead of waiting for the August meeting so we can get the project going, hopefully complete it prior to school starting. I've attached the proposal for your review. Please let us know if you approve the bid so that we can move this forward. All right, because this was sent out to the whole board, so I have to read it into the record on how it was done. So this was sent out, and these are the answers that were responded to. David Tessman said, my vote is no. David, is your vote still no on this? Yes. Thank you, David.
There are individual
Okay.
emails if you want to flip through the pages. If not, yeah, I can one email.
Maureen Obie, my vote is yes. Maureen, is your vote still yes? Yes. Thank you, Maureen. there is times on this, but I voted on this. My vote is yes. Thank you for your email. My vote is still yes on this. Paul Doucette voted on this. He wrote yes. Paul Doucette is not here tonight, so I cannot ask him whether his vote still stands, but on that day of August 11th, he voted yes. Christy Martin, my vote is yes. Christy, is your vote still yes? Delaney Carrier voted on this. I vote yes. Delaney, is your vote still yes? Deb Brown voted on this. My vote is yes. I would also like to note that we as a board will need to ratify this vote at the next board meeting on August 23rd. Deb, is your vote still yes?
Yes.
Deb, do you make a motion to ratify this vote as is complete, when completed?
Yes.
Lori Cass voted on this. I vote to approve and ratify at the next meeting. Lori, is your vote still yes to ratify at the meeting? Christie's there. Cecile Cormier voted on this. Cecile wrote, my vote is yes. Cecile, is your vote still yes on this? Paul Doucette's vote is here. His vote was yes. We cannot pass Paul. My vote is part of this, and Maureen Obie. Colleen, can I have the number on that vote, please?
Yeah, we had one no and the balance of the, are we counting?
How many yeses and how many nos, please?
Because he's not read, no, you can't.
I can't count Paul because he's not here to ratify it.
6 yeses and 1 no.
And we'll do one abstention because Paul's not here.
Should be 7
Well,
yeses.
it wouldn't be an extension.
Oh, okay, so it's
Seven.
It would just be a no vote. I mean, it's not a
Not
vote.
a vote, okay. All right, so Deb has made a motion to ratify this vote. I will second that vote, and based on the numbers given, this vote passes through the ratification process. These emails will be part of the minutes, but I would ask that you, if there's personal emails on there, that they be blacked out, please. School emails are fine, any other ones need to be blacked out. Okay, Jefferson, that takes care of that approval for you.
I have one last thing. I brought tonight a Department of Revenue form called MS-22, which is appropriations voted. I need all the board members to sign this. Once the city council had approved the budget, this needs to be submitted to the DRA. I'm going to send around a folder, and there's 3 forms in there to sign. If you can take care of that, and that's everything that I have for this evening. Does anybody have any questions?
Did you get the letter from New Hampshire DRA about the auditing? It was generally addressed to the school board. It was,
Yeah, it was in the board folder.
oh, it was?
Yeah, we put it
Okay,
in the
I
board
must not have
folder
seen
for
it.
you guys. Yep.
All right, thanks.
Yeah, this one is the DRA notification.
I probably just,
Deb, I believe it's the last.
Yeah,
one
I
in the
see it,
folder with
yeah.
the item number.
I probably just didn't print it out.
All right, as they're moving along, I'll keep moving along here.
One of the forms only has 6 lines for signatures. I'm not sure why they only do that, but just find another space below it or something to put your signature if you run out of space.
Are there any other questions for Jefferson? All right, we'll close that item.
No, it's not finalized.
All right, agenda item 9 is our committee reports. Do we have any committee reports? I know we have a couple. Deb, we'll start with you because I know you had a finance.
Yeah, we had finance, we had negotiations. Jefferson's gone over all the things that we talked about at finance. And capital projects, we did just touch base a little bit about it so that we could start looking at long-term pieces. But for the most part, it was everything Jefferson presented for that. We met negotiations with our custodians, support staff, and those things, and teachers, and Dan will be talking about those things a little bit later in his report.
Any questions for Deb? Are there any other committee reports? Go ahead, Delaney.
I don't have a report for you over the summer, but the Innovation and Improvement Committee will be meeting next Wednesday at 5:30 at the SAU office.
Any other reports?
September 15th at 5:30 at the SAU office for finance.
I also know that, what was the date we had for the joint finance, Deb?
Oh, it was September,
Do you remember, Deb?
October.
Joint finance.
September 21st, we have a CIP.
Okay, so on September
CIP,
20,
yeah.
September 21st, we have a CIP, capital improvement plan meeting with the city. It's a-
October 12th with the city.
It's a continuation of the one we had. Then October 12th is a joint finance meeting with the city. So those are be upcoming meetings that we'll be having with the city. All right, we'll close agenda item 9. We'll move on to agenda item 10. Agenda item 10 is our new business. All new business falls under our update from our superintendent. You're up, Dan.
All right. So, we're gonna start tonight with the vape monitor bids. We put out to bid for vape monitors in both the middle school and the high school. The bid closed on Thursday. Jefferson, how did we do?
So we received 2 bids. If you remember at the June 21st meeting, we approved $60,000 towards installing 19 vape monitors through the bathrooms at both schools. We had a bid from E&E, who does a lot of our HVAC work, but they also tend to do some network connectivity type things also. And our vendor for this particular product, their bid came in, and both bids were in the folder for your review. Their bid came in at $63,319.60. Another company that we also work with on other issues and networking throughout the district, especially with Robin Dunlop, our tech director, is Converge One. Their bid came in at $56,533.34. I would like to request the board to approve the Converge One as our bid winner, so that they can move forward with this project.
I'll make a motion
Go ahead, Deb.
to accept the bid of Converge for $56,533.34 for vape monitors bid project.
So motion's been made to accept the bid and to award the project to Converge One at $56,533.34. That motion was made by Deb. It was seconded by Delaney. Is there any discussion? Yes, David?
Is there any periodic maintenance required of these, or are they just a set them and forget? I mean, are they various filters or stuff like that that's required?
So these units, with this pricing, comes in with a 10-year license. So 10 years, the company that manufactures those will cover any repairs or any issues that come up with those vape monitors, including updating of software and things of that nature, with no extra cost to us at all.
So there's no change out of filters or stuff?
Nope.
Are there any
And
other?
there's also, the system is set up also to provide notification, obviously, when the environmental sensors are triggered. When an incident occurs or any of the bathrooms, then whoever is set up to be notified will be notified instantaneously of that situation.
Delaney?
Was there any functional difference or service level difference between the 2 bids?
We've worked with both companies quite a bit. Converge One has been doing a lot of our network stuff. Robin has tended to favor Converge One because of a lot of the work that they've done for us already in the past. E&E we've obviously worked with quite a bit too, and we still use them for our HVAC, and they handle our maintenance with our HVAC systems. But because of the pricing really was the biggest driver of where we came to decide which vendor we would like to go with.
Any other questions? Okay, seeing no other questions, we'll take a vote. All in favor of awarding the bid to Converge One, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it, and the bid is awarded.
Okay, great, thank you very much. We'll let you know when we get it scheduled. The next item is the middle school flooring update. So we did receive quotes for the cafeteria flooring and to redo the rug part of the main offices, to replace that with tile. We are targeting Christmas vacation to do that project, which will give us plenty of time to make it happen. Jefferson, can you tell us about the quote we received?
So this is a company we have been using, ADF Flooring. We've used them quite a bit here at the high school. They've always come in with the best pricing on this type of stuff. The locations that we want to replace are the conference room at the middle school office, admin office area, the main office area itself, the vice principal's office, and the principal's office, and the cafeteria. Do you want me to give the numbers on all that?
Yeah, yeah.
Sure. Okay, so
Just the grand total is fine.
I don't have the top of my head the grand total. But
Oh, you
each
know, whatever's
company's,
easier for you.
The conference room quote was $2,055.78. The main office was $4,691.16. The assistant principal's office was $1,806.39. Cafeteria came out at $12,533.41, and the principal's office came in at $2,073.80.
How much money was budgeted for, or set aside for the project?
I don't have that number, actually. Yeah, if you don't mind adding them up.
Just give me the numbers. Just write the numbers down, I'll add it up.
I'm already doing it.
Bart, Deb's doing it.
Go ahead, Christie.
What is the square footage in the office that's going to be?
Repeat the question?
Square footage.
Square footage in the office.
Main office is 773.43, well, that's a, they figure 855 square feet.
855?
Yeah.
And what is the square footage of cafeteria?
2,430 square feet.
So why is it so high for the main office?
Because we have to remove the carpeting and stuff like that. There's several components. If you had looked at the bids that were in there, there's actually about 15 lines in there of how the pricing actually breaks down. So like for the cafeteria, you have remove existing VCT and code base and dispose 2,217 square feet at the price of $2,200 approximately. Grinding, prep work, grind floor, and scrape adhesive for the same amount of square footage, $1 square foot, so $2,217.14. $2,430 30 feet at $1.89 on the tiling is $4,590.70. Installation of $1.15 per square foot is $2,794.50. Cove base 4-inch piece, 4x4 cove base color to be determined, 136 square feet for $189.04. Installation of the cove base, 80 cents per square foot, $108.80. Vinyl transition, 2 square feet, $66.09 a unit, it's $130.18.
So they're removing the tile from, sorry if I'm taking everyone's time, but these are just questions I have. They're removing the tile from the cafeteria. They're scraping up all the glue or any particle that is there. And then they're just removing a rug in the middle of the main office.
Main office, because the carpeting is actually in the conference room and the assistant principal and vice principal's office. Yeah.
It just seems a little bit steep for the main office. As a meeting,
The $4,700. The $4,700. It's approximately a third of the price of the cafeteria, which is.
Are they using different tile in the office than they are in the cafeteria? Are they using the same tile? Okay.
What schools are we talking about? Middle school. All of these?
Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Based on the numbers that Jefferson had given out, okay, the total cost for all these projects at the middle school for the reflooring comes out to $23,160.54.
Make a motion to approve.
A motion's been made to approve for the flooring at the middle school of $23,160.54 by Deb, second by Cecile. Is there any further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, all in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? One abstention. The motion passes and the middle school flooring project is approved.
Okay, we will report out after Christmas on that all came out. Next up is the custodial contract. We were negotiating with the support staff and the custodial unions this summer. We reached agreements with both unions. The custodial union has ratified their agreement unanimously with their members. So the next step in the process is for the school board to ratify the agreement. We've agreed to a 2-year contract for school years 23-24 and 24-25. Costs for the first year of the custodial contract is $26,786. And then the second year additional cost for 24-25 is $17,863. I would combine total cost of $44,648. After the board approves the contract, the next step is to go to the city council. City council will have a public hearing, and then the following month, the city council will take action on the contract, and they are the last body that needs to vote on it. So tonight, I'm looking for the board to approve the custodial contract.
I make a motion to approve the custodial contract for the 23-24 school year, 24-25 school year, at the numbers that Jim just presented.
Okay, motion been made to accept the 2-year custodial contract as was presented to the Franklin School Board by Superintendent Legallo, by Deb, seconded by Christie. Is there any further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, all in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it, and the custodial contract is approved by the school board.
Fantastic, thank you. We will be bringing the support staff contract to you next month. They expect to ratify it at opening day on September 1st. So we'll keep you posted on that. All right, next up. Our status for teachers at the 3 schools is better than other places. Right now, we are only short 1 teacher at the elementary school, 1 staff member, 1 teacher at the middle school, and 3 teachers at the high school. 1 social studies teacher, 1 math teacher, and 1 science teacher. We have not been receiving a lot of applicants, especially at the high school, although we did get 1 applicant today that we're going to take a look at. So we started to have conversations first with the board and then with the teachers union about perhaps having teachers at the high school teach extra classes so we could cover and provide more classes to the students. Dave has been working very hard with his scheduling person and looking at teachers teaching the 7th period class, the 7th extra class. We negotiated, the negotiating team, specifically Deb and I did most of it, Tim and Delaney chimed in as well. We have come to an agreement with the union, and I'm looking for the full board to approve this memorandum of agreement tonight. It's a stipend for teachers that take on the extra period of teaching at the high school. This is voluntary in that teachers that are willing to do this, and it's a need that we have identified as management to provide. At this time, at this iteration of the schedule, we're looking at 4 to 5 people perhaps doing this at this point. So I would ask that you support this and approve the MOA.
Make motion to approve MOA with the teachers for the 23-24 school year as a stipend position for taking on extra class.
So Deb made a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding between the Franklin School Board and the Franklin Education Association as it has been presented to the school board, seconded by Maureen. Do we have any further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, all in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it, and the memorandum of understanding is approved.
Excellent, thank you very much. We'll keep you posted on that. Okay, next up is a trailer disposal. We have a 36-year-old trailer that was hiding out behind the athletic fields, the tower at the athletic fields. I don't know, Dan, if you want to speak to this in terms of its need to be disposed of. But.
Most of them are found a trailer down there, it was a 1986 trailer that they piled for years and years and years, they just bored off of the bleachers onto it that were broke, and the netting and all that, so after we got dug out and bees nests out and everything. It's a single axle trailer, it's a 1986, it's needed as a water repair. We're talking about scrapping it.
So one of the ways to scrap it, Dan's volunteered to take it off our hands free of charge. I don't think it has any value in its current state. So my recommendation would be for the board to approve Dan to take it off our hands free of charge. But if you have different ideas for that, then so be it.
Is it all metal or not?
Yeah, it was metal, it's metal and it had wood sides. Metal and rust, it had wood sides on it, I have pictures somewhere.
Yeah, I didn't actually bring the pictures.
So, I mean, you wouldn't get anything at any junkyard or anything?
$50 maybe.
Pardon?
$50 probably.
Okay, just curious, that's all.
No, it's a wooden trailer. They use it to haul the lawnmower. I believe they updated the trailer they bought a new trailer to haul the tractor because this was not big enough. And the trailer we have now is a tandem axle trailer that was purchased 3 years ago. And that's what we're using now for the zero turn in the tractor.
Well, the policy allows you to do whatever you want with it.
I put the policy in the board folder for you to review about disposal of items. The board has to release this item so that we can dispose of it the way you see fit.
I made a motion that we allow Dan free of charge.
Did we take a coffee break?
Tim, we have a motion on the floor.
Who made it? And what did they say? Get rid of it. Give it to,
Let Dan haul it away.
Okay, motion to, who seconded it?
Delaney.
2 people.
And Lori, too.
There's a motion to let Dan Clark dispose of it.
Yes.
Free of charge. Free of charge. No more discussion?
No more discussion.
No more discussion, perfect, guys. Okay, all in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it, motion passes.
All right, congratulations, Dan.
Let it go, Dan.
Got it. All right, moving on.
Drag it out of it?
Okay, next up are the fall coach nominations. So I'm gonna do the nominations at the middle school and then do the nominations at the high school, once I can find them in my packet. Page 32, thank you. Mine aren't numbered, though.
I should have read it. Did anybody read the nominations that were nominated in our school board drive? Everybody see that?
Yeah, yeah.
So everybody's seen it, right?
There's a document right here.
Okay, that's good. So, for the public's personal knowledge, we have sent out a school board drive that has our packet in it for our school boards to review. This makes the progress a little quicker for us, so we don't have to stop on every little item.
Got it.
Which is there. So, our coaches' nomination were in our school board drive, and I have asked all school board members if they've read it, and they have. So, a motion was made by Delaney to accept the, we're gonna start with the Franklin High School nominations, and this was presented by Principal Levesque. Then who do I have for a second? I have Maureen for a second. Okay, to accept the coaches. Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it. The coaches for the high school approved. We'll now move on to the middle school nomination. This was presented by Principal Everett. Delaney, you're a great guy. So Delaney has made a motion to accept the nominations of the coaches through the Franklin Middle School, seconded by Deb. Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it, and the coaches are approved.
All right, moving on.
That's what we call it.
I would like the board to accept with regret the resignation of first grade teacher Audrey McDonald.
I'll make the motion to accept with regret the resignation of Audrey McDonald from Paul Smith School?
Paul Smith
Smith School, with regret. Second by Delaney. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it, and the resignation with regret is accepted.
Okay. We have in the budget to hire a library media specialist at the elementary school. We have been having a very difficult time finding a qualified candidate. One of the teachers that we've hired, we would love to put in that position. But she needs to get what's called a statement of eligibility to be in that position. The library media specialist position is not a statewide critical shortage on the list. So what I need the board to do tonight is to declare this a local critical shortage, meaning in our area, library media specialist is a critical shortage, and that's because we have no applicants. That's why we have a critical shortage. So I need you to vote to declare a critical shortage so that I may employ her and she may get her statement of eligibility so we can place her at some point into that position at the elementary school.
That's a library specialist?
Library media specialist, yes. Delaney.
Can you give just a really brief legal definition of what it is we're declaring?
You are declaring that there is a shortage of people qualified and available to fill the position of library media specialist. Having no applicants qualifies you to make that decision as a board to say this is a critical shortage for Franklin. Although the state, and the way they determine critical shortage is they survey districts every year. So the superintendents fill out all the positions that they have trouble filling, and then they collect all that data, and that's how they determine what positions end up on the critical shortage list. So library media specialist is usually only one at every school. So it's a little easier to find them typically because, you know, it's not like regular teachers where you have lots of them. But for whatever reason, we have not found or had any applicants worthy of putting in that role. But we found a great teacher that wants to be in that role. So we're gonna start her out as a teacher until we fill her position, then we'll probably move her into that role, is the plan right now. So, but I need you to declare the local shortage piece so she can get her statement. Does that help?
So I'll make a motion that the Franklin School Board make a motion to make a local critical shortage declaration for a library media specialist within the city of Franklin, the Franklin School District. Second by Maureen. Any further discussion? You may.
I taught for 20 years, and that's how I got my library position at the Franklin High School. And I went and got my master's in library media science. So,
You could solve a problem tonight, Maureen.
Is there any other discussion? Okay. Seeing any further discussion, all in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it, and the motion passes as a local critical shortage declaration for a library media specialist in the city of Franklin.
All right, perfect. All right, nominations. So I have a bunch of nominations for you to approve tonight. So the following professional staff I'm nominating for board approval. So we have Allison Poulin, middle school art teacher. We have Kirsta Lamb, high school English teacher. Rachel Bullier, first grade teacher. Carrie Hansen, middle school language arts teacher. Arvin McIntyre, high school science teacher. Sean Quinn, high school assistant principal. And Melissa Ralston, first grade teacher. The update on Sean Quinn is that we are hoping he will be released from his contract soon so that he can start his gig here at the high school, and nobody's more excited about that than Dave.
I'll make a motion to accept the nominations as is presented this evening by Superintendent Legala.
Second.
Second by Deb. Is there any discussion?
Probably not in public. We can discuss that in non-public.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it, and the nominations are accepted.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, I wanted to talk with the board about something I've been working with Plymouth State on for a little bit of time here, and now it's come to fruition. I just need the board to approve it. So we need to continue to try and support our teachers in what they do. One of the goals you gave me in March was to continue to work with teachers on classroom discipline, classroom management, whatnot. We employ a lot of teachers that come from other fields and aren't classically trained as teachers. So I've been working with PSU. You know we have a great relationship with them, with our interns that's been fostered. Ken was a big part of that for sure. So I had them come down this summer and do a couple-day math training with our teachers, mostly K-6 teachers. That was very well received. We have partnered to offer a master's degree course for our teachers, and we found grant money, about $18,000 worth of grant money that we're going to hopefully use to pay for this graduate course. We're going to invite teachers, and we're going to select up to 10, maybe 12 teachers tops to participate in this graduate course and hope to bring a master's degree program right here to the Franklin campus, and this would be the kickoff class. There's a lot of possibilities about what this could grow into, but it's all about providing the support that we need to provide our teachers so that they're successful in the classroom, so that they'll actually stay with us. We had a couple of teachers leave mid-year the last couple of years, as you all know who've been on the board. So this is an attempt to really strongly support our teachers, provide them the opportunity to start a master's degree program, potentially, if it goes well, continue to have them be part of a master's degree program in which they will probably have a financial stake in the game, and hopefully stay in the district. The other possibilities we've talked with Plymouth about is inviting other staff from other districts that are local around us to help come in and be part of this and to help fund it as well. and perhaps Franklin gets a free ride or a reduced cost because we're the ones that are putting this together. So what I need the board to approve tonight is the appropriation of the grant money to provide this one class for our teachers that will run from September to April.
That's $18,000.
We expect it to be about $18,000, a grant money.
Dave?
Do these classes occur after school and on the weekends and stuff?
After
Weeks again of this,
September to April.
September to April?
Yeah.
What grant will these funds come from?
These would fall under Title II grant.
Title II grant. Professional development is what Title II is for.
Okay, so you're just looking for the approval of the grant right now, Dan?
I'm just looking for approval of the fact that I'm gonna put this amount of money towards, I mean, anything that I spend over 10 grand, the board really needs to be a part of and aware of. It's grant money, but I still believe the board should be
Yep.
aware of and supporting the fact that we're gonna put this amount of money towards trying to support our teachers, and hopefully making them more successful and hopefully keeping them in Franklin longer than some of them are staying, which is the whole point of it.
I'll make a motion to approve the Plymouth State College on-site master's course for teachers for the upcoming school year.
Deb, you need to put in there also, to also approve the 18,000 Title II grant.
Okay.
So can you, would you mind being back? We have to approve this grant from
No, I
18,000.
understand. Well, the grant's already approved.
No, the grants are not.
It's not a grant.
Grant
It's
already
just
exists.
being
Okay, so you don't need
expended
none of-
funds.
Oh, it's existing money.
So you don't need
I
that
just need the board's
18,000.
blessing.
Yeah, just on the
Say, go for
course.
it, Dan.
Go for it.
Yeah.
So you don't need the 18,000, I thought that's what you just said.
Yeah, I need about 18,000.
You need that
Up
approved?
to 18,000.
It's up to you. If you want me to spend 18,000 and not approve it, then that's fine. I'll go for it. If you want to approve it officially, then you can approve it.
I didn't think coming from a grant, when you write your grant, that it doesn't need to be approved by the board.
Technically, you don't.
Okay.
But
That's all
I'm
we
very,
need to know.
very
So-
transparent with you guys
I
for a
think that
reason.
was just informational.
All right, so we're
Just
gonna-
informational.
We're just gonna
Works for
go
me.
with the motion that we will allow and accept the recommendation of the superintendent to have Plymouth State College come on site and do a master's course for our teachers.
Beautiful.
Who's gonna second? I will.
That's perfect.
Oh, Christie seconded, Christie seconded it. So I have any discussion?
We're sharing.
50-50 between Christie and Maureen. So we have any other discussion? All right, seeing no other discussion, all in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it, and it is approved.
Thank you very much. We will keep you posted. Okay, paraprofessional hiring update. So, we made the agreement with the support staff that the board supported back at the end of June. We posted it on the 3 signs of the schools, and to date, we've added, how many, Rebecca, 9 or 10?
So we have hired 8 and hired 2 who have returned because of the pay.
So we've added 10 paraprofessionals, so we're doing pretty well with that. Yeah, Rebecca's pretty excited about it, so that, we needed what do we need, Rebecca, 14, right? What are we, 4 or 5 short still? Or 4?
There was 7 in the report.
4,
Seven
and I
is what
have
we
an
had last
interview tomorrow.
So we're down to 4 short, and we have an interview tomorrow.
And another one submitting paperwork.
And another one submitting paperwork. So I would say that we've done well.
Yeah.
With that approach. So that's good news, for sure.
Excellent.
And the last thing I wanted to say, before we get to the student handbooks, is opening day for the entire staff is Thursday, September 1st. You are all invited to come to that. It's a wonderful welcome breakfast. It's very festive. We do a lot of fun things with the staff. We recognize staff. We have the police chief. We have the fire chief. Hopefully Tim will be there as well. I know Deb does a huge raffle that she does with the staff. We have a guest speaker. The interim president of Lakes Region Community College will be speaking to the faculty to try and rev them up. The mayor will be there as well to speak. So if you can make it, it really is worth your time to come and spend an hour and 10 minutes, or hour and 20 minutes. to be recognized and be part of that opening day celebration. It will re-energize you for what you do, because you don't get a lot of credit for what you do, but when you have 200 people there that you can celebrate with, it's pretty cool. So 8 o'clock is when the breakfast starts. It's on the high school field. Hopefully the weather will be good. And then all the fun and games starts probably around 8:45-ish. So you're able to mingle with the staff, talk to staff, thank staff, all that stuff, and they can do the same to you. So if you can find a way to be there, I highly encourage it. You also get a nice T-shirt. So.
Right now it says sunny 76.
Sunny 76, sounds perfect. All right, the last item, and we put it last for a reason, was the school handbooks. So the principals and assistant principals worked really hard on this, and obviously having a new set of eyes on it this year. They put together summary sheets for you to make it easier for you to know what the changes were going to be. And then they incorporated that. They did X out what they were recommending for changes. So Nicole could not be here tonight, but I want to give her a lot of credit for the work she did at the elementary school and also helping the other schools along as well. So I don't know if you want to start with the elementary school and work our way up. Does that work for you?
Yep.
So why don't we start at the elementary school? In your the board folder was a summary sheet of the changes as well as the entire handbook. One of the things that I will share before we get to specifically the elementary school is we did put in the handbooks this year, the clubs that are at the schools and a description of the clubs. If you were around at the city council meeting in June, the last two of them, the one in June, definitely the one in June or July, and the one in August, we were getting a lot of pushback about our Pride Club still at the middle school and the fact that we don't communicate out clubs to our parents. So this is definitely a communication out to put them in the handbooks, which will go online and all that. And that is a good suggestion, and I will tell the city council that was a good suggestion in September, and then that's what we're doing, is putting them in the handbooks and making sure that that goes out online and to parents and all that stuff. So that's in the handbooks when we have clubs. Dave?
I look at the middle school handbook and the deletions. There's only about 4 or 5 clubs listed there. I find it hard to believe that's all the clubs. There's no other informal clubs or other kinds of clubs at the middle school.
Let's start with elementary. We'll get to the middle school. We'll get to middle school. We'll get to that question when we get to the middle school. Let's start with the elementary school to do them one at a time. So has everybody had an opportunity to read the student handbook that Principal LaRoche has sent out, the changes and stuff? Are there any questions dealing, we're gonna start with the middle, or Paul Smith School, I apologize. Are there any questions on the Paul Smith School handbook? Go ahead, Cecile.
Yes, it's very well written. I would like to suggest, as far as under documentations, that the medical notes, that the notes be faxed to the main office, but also include scan. I mean, we do an email, you can scan it as well, so maybe just add that. And,
There's a reason we can't.
huh? You can't scan?
Doctor's office can't do it because of HIPAA rules.
That's why they fax them.
You can't scan and stuff.
Oh,
HIPAA rules don't allow that.
oh, okay, I didn't know that.
Yes.
Okay.
I just learned something.
Yeah, unfortunately, because you don't know who's on the other end there, you can't guarantee who's gonna be out the other end of it. So if they fax something, or send it like that, and somebody gets it who's not supposed to, it's a violation of HIPAA rules.
And the other thing under the safe school zone, that, you're deleting the student disciplinary procedure. Is that covered under that RSA 193G2?
Do you ever need some help with that?
I'm looking to, where are you looking?
Well, it's
on your page.
Safe school zone, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
On page 4.
It's the last.
Page
paragraph.
15, 16.
Page 15, last paragraph.
It refers to page 15 through 16 in the handbook.
That should be on the page you're looking at. Are they at the bottom?
Yeah, I see it.
Okay.
Safe school zone.
So that RSA 193 3D2, is that, is the discipline included in that procedure, in that RSA?
This RSA delineates the school as a safe school zone. It doesn't have anything to do with discipline.
Okay,
It's a notice that you're in a safe school zone, so that
okay, all right.
that RSA describes what you can and not carry and do in a safe school zone.
Okay, all right.
That's what that refers to.
Okay, so are some new disciplinary procedures gonna be written, or are they, you're not gonna have any discipline?
No discount. All of that's going to be looked at, and in the principal's report, we'll talk a little bit about that, establishing norms for behavioral interventions.
All right,
Yep.
thank you.
Yeah, we're aligning the 3 schools.
That's it?
All right, any other questions?
I'll
All
make a
right.
motion to approve the Paul Smith Elementary School Parent-Student Handbook for 22-23.
Okay, motion been made to accept the Franklin, Paul Smith School Student Handbook for 2022-2023, seconded by Delaney. Is there any further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, all in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it, and the handbook is approved. All right, we're going to move on to the Franklin Middle School now. Dave, this is where we'll answer your questions. So in that report, you showed that there's 4 or 5 clubs. There's 8 clubs. So, Jeannie, how many clubs do we have in the middle school?
8 that we know of.
8 that you know of?
Yes.
And they're all listed in the book?
They are. If there's anything else, we did, and by we I mean Vicki Shinneman, canvassed everyone to
Yep.
find out. There are sports, there are other things. We don't know if maybe some things went out of, popularity because of COVID. But at this point in time, there are 8.
David, did you find the 8?
I see the 8.
Great.
Guess my question is then, so if any other class, any other club starts at the middle school, how does that handle? If I want to start a club to, kitty
Mickey Mouse
cats.
Club?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, what would happen?
Goes to the principal. And the principal comes to the superintendent. And the superintendent then, by policy, yay or nays the club. That's by policy.
You wouldn't come before the city council or anything like that?
City Council does not rule what clubs.
I don't believe by policy, I don't have the policy in front of me, but I believe the policy says it's the superintendent, not the school board. I think that's what it says.
It does.
Right? Yeah, I'm sure, yeah.
He's our employee to manage those things as a board.
Can the person that comes forward requesting to start a club request to be able to talk to the school board?
I mean, anybody can request to talk to the school board. Anybody has, and as long as they're a resident of Franklin, anybody has that right to, about anything. Yeah, we let them in.
I mean, we could, you'll always, well, the board will be informed, okay? That Ginny puts in, somebody puts in for a marble club, okay? And all the proposals done and everything, and she brings it to Dan. Dan says, yeah, we can have a marble club. And then that month's report, Ginny can easily report to the board saying, hey, just so you guys know, we're gonna have a marble club now at the middle school. Okay, the big thing we need to make sure of it's becoming, with this pride thing, it became an issue. And there's some misconception out there, but anyways. We will send home notices when new clubs come into effect.
Yes, they're approved, yep.
Okay? Superintendent Legallo and I have spoken about this and everything. So, we don't want to keep hearing month after month after month after month that there's no transparency and we're terrible people, okay? So, we're going to send home notifications of any club that starts in any schools, whether it be Paul Smith, whether it be the middle school, whether it be the high school, notification be sent home to parents saying, you know, we're starting a Marlboro Club at the middle school or whatever. Okay, so that all parents are aware of it, it'll go into the student handbook. Every year, the school board's responsible for approving the student handbook, okay? So we'll know that there's a club starting.
I just
But
put it
we
out
don't,
there.
you're overstepping your bound, you know, you gotta remember that when you look under the 300 laws for education, okay, the job of a school board is to approve a budget, set policies, and make sure the school's running properly. We don't run the school. And that's been a huge misconception with some board members. That's not our job. Okay, our job is to do a budget, do policies, and make sure the school's running smoothly.
I just asked because I wanted to put it out there for anyone who might be listening.
Yes, I agree. That's why I'm saying what I'm saying. I 100% agree with you, Christie. Go ahead, Bob.
I just need to clarify because it's been referred to as the Pride Club. It is not the Pride Club. The name of the club is Franklin Diverse, and it's not about gay, lesbian, LGBTQA issues. It's about supporting all students who might have differences that make them feel like they want to be a part of this or be advocating for others who might be marginalized in whatever way. So calling it a Pride Club assumes that it's something that it is not. So the description of the Pride Club is actually in the handbook, and I would refer people to that, but it's not a Pride Club, it's the Franklin Diverse Club.
You are 100% correct.
And diversity is everyone.
Yes.
I don't want to get into everything because I've done a lot of research, but I'm going to keep my opinions to myself right now because I'll just leave it at that. But if you ever get a chance, look what the colors mean under the pride flag. There's no sexuality in it. All right, so
I'll make a motion to approve the Franklin Middle School handbook as presented.
a motion been made to accept the middle school. Second by Lori. Is there any further discussion? Yeah, you have discussion?
Yeah, under dress code, it says spandex, lycra shorts, or leggings may be worn only under a skirt or shorts that meet dress code length. And I have to say, I have 2 daughters of middle school age and 2 older daughters. And if they're not wearing shorts the entire rest of the year, the only thing they wear is leggings. So I question that part of the dress code.
Well, we met as an administrative team, and we're trying to align ourselves K through 12, and that's where we landed on that side of that argument.
Do you think your entire school female population is gonna be happy with not being able to wear leggings for most of the school year? Where, I know, again, my daughters, like, their entire non-summer wardrobe is leggings.
Dan? Trying to find it.
Dan's trying.
I have a question about that too. As
Okay,
a-
can we hold the question until that can be one at a time here? So Dan's looking it up. I don't want to throw Jenny under. And Delaney, I have a granddaughter that's the same way, so I get what you're saying.
I think that we can get in the weeds here pretty quickly about dress code. What I can tell you about dress code is there are words on a page. Ultimately, the administrators are the ones that have to make the decisions regardless of what the words on the page say. So I understand where you're coming from, Delaney. But I also see where the administration is trying to set a bar at a certain point, what they're gonna accept or not accept. I support what's in here and how it's written, but I also reserve the right to talk to them about what they are interpreting this to mean and to be, because I have 2 high school daughters as well, so I understand exactly what you're saying. So I think it's more about how do we interpret and how do we administer this policy instead of trying to wordsmith about some of the little.
And I definitely don't want to sit here and wordsmith this. The only thing I will say in response to that is when we when we put the words on the paper and then we interpret the words, cases have come up in the very recent past where the words are interpreted one way in one situation and another way in another, and then those people look at each other and say, well, why did you get to do it and not me? And then we have complaints to the school
What I would
board
say
and,
to
you
that
know.
is that we've been fighting over the Constitution for over 200-something years, and the wording of the Constitution. So that's where I come back to say,
I'll leave that to you in the
right, I think that you leave it as an administrative piece to administer, knowing that there's no wording here that's gonna effectively stop this from being an issue. And we talked about this as an admin team, right, guys? About the dress code and how this is gonna go down and stuff. Ultimately, it's the interpretation of the administrators and the expectation of the administrators working with individual kids. And that's why we have superintendents to appeal to, and that's why we have school boards to appeal to. Yeah.
There's always, you gotta give some leniency at times. Yeah.
And you also have to recognize there's a lot of individual type things that go on and how you work with specific kids and specific families and situations, and as I know people like black and white, but things aren't always black and white, but that's where you gotta trust the administrators to do the right thing in the right way. And I know we have administrators that'll do the right thing in the right way.
Christie?
So to add on to that question, I respect the reasoning behind the leggings decision. I'm a mother of 3 daughters that also wear leggings anytime it's not hot out. They'll wear shorts otherwise. But I've seen leggings that are worn in a certain way where it's not appropriate, and I can respect that. So instead of just like a dress over it, would like a long t-shirt be okay? I know it's not worded in there, but.
We're actually having a whole side conversation too.
I think the reference is to just not having, you know, the bum hanging out.
Right,
So if there's a long t-shirt or a tunic or a long sweatshirt or something over top of it, that would be that's one of the only lines that wasn't changed from last year's handbook regarding the dress code. So it's kind of funny that that's what's been in there. So I think, yeah, the intent was more, I think, for the skirts to be longer and the shorts to be longer, and just to try to have some coverage over the bum.
I mean, I have a 21-year-old in college, and Jewel and I were just talking about when our girls were in middle school, there was a big rebellion of the girls wearing leggings. So I don't want to see that happen to you guys, especially in your first year here. But yeah, I know, I know.
It really is the appropriate part. It's
Right.
the,
And I do understand that.
you know.
I'm wrong. So.
We don't really want to be body shaming anybody
Right.
either. So it's really, honestly, it's just a really slippery slope, all of it.
And they have to understand it's for their protection. It's not about body shaming. It is entirely for their protection. So.
Then why
Deb,
can't,
hold on a second, Deb, we had her hand up, so I'll come back to you, go ahead, Deb.
I think it's important too the communication at the beginning of the school year during your assemblies, when, you know, your first day of, these are the do's, these are the don'ts. You need to look at these handbooks more closely because there are changes, and we are going to stick and adhere to those components. So it's all about communication, I think, right from the beginning of the school year, and consistency through that school year. That's just
Cecile?
my feeling.
then why can't we include some language that says that it's only under a skirt unless the top is so many inches above the knee or whatever, you know?
Well, like the fingertips.
You know, just so,
Yeah.
so the top would be included, so it just doesn't sound so restrictive.
But Cecile,
But-
that's not our job to be
Let me, we have, whoa, time out for a second. Guys, listen up for a second. Time out for a second, please. You guys are going way beyond again. Listen to me. We have 3 principals that run our schools. We have a superintendent that oversees our schools. If they mess up, we are going to know about it, and guess who answers to that? This gentleman sitting to my left, okay? So if something goes wrong, he is going to get blamed by us. I promise you this. I will promise you this.
Way to throw him under the bus.
Yeah, he knows this, though. He knows I will do it. So we have the principals that do it. So let's not get too complicated here. I know, but we're way going further than we need to go. Okay? So a motion, is there discussion on the handbook? The dress code has been beat to death. Is there any other discussion on the handbook? Thank you. All in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Deb did. I seconded it.
And then we discussed this.
Lori did. Okay, thank you, Lori. So, yeah, so long, I have to read the minutes.
I wrote it down.
All right, so, that's done. Ginny, your handbook is approved. All right, so now we're gonna go on to the the high school. Dave, you're up next. Be ready, Dave. It's already been 2 hot seats. You're next, buddy. All right, so, has everybody had an opportunity to read the changes that have been made in the high school handbook? Okay, so I'm gonna make a motion that we accept the high school student handbook as it is presented in our school board drive. Second by Delaney. Do we have any discussion?
I'm afraid to.
I don't blame you. I'm trying to keep this moving.
Okay, I'm trying to keep this moving too.
Go ahead.
Is there a reference to the fact that they may wear hats in school?
In the dress code?
Yes.
Yeah, I guess we're looking at that. So, as we talk about building consistency and expectations,
Yes.
that'll be a discussion internally with the faculty and staff. For example, I don't care if kids wear hats in school, as long as they're doing their learning, it doesn't matter to me. But we as a faculty and staff have to be consistent that if we're gonna wear hats, anybody can wear hats. It can't be, you're my favorite teacher because I don't have to wear a hat. I can wear a hat in your classroom, and I don't like you because you won't let me wear a hat. So hats, as far as we're concerned, the difference is hoods. Hoods is a different beast, in that when you think about video cameras and things like that, when the hoods are covered, you can't see people's faces. Hats, on the other hand, because you can see periphery and different things like that, that's a different animal. So that's why the hoods was added in the hats. We're gonna talk about that as a faculty and staff opening days, and that's one of our topics, you know. Do we wanna die on a hill for a student wearing a hat?
No, I just
Yep.
asked.
Nope.
because
I like the curiosity.
Are there any other questions? Seriously, are there any other questions on the high school handbook? If anybody has any, seriously. Everybody's good with it?
Can I just note 2 things?
Go ahead.
One is the transition to full competency-based grading. I want to make sure everybody's aware that that's the direction we're going in, and we're going to go there. You know, we had piloted UAs last year, and now we're going there full bore in terms of the whole school, so the board needs to be aware of that. And then I guess the question is also, Dave, about your grade point average piece.
Sure.
Can you just give them a brief, quick one on that one?
Sure. So currently, if you are a student at Franklin High School, there's no way that you can get a 4.0 or better based on the grading system that is currently been enacted. You mind if I use you for a minute? A good friend Lily stopped in and cornered me right away, day 2 maybe, and we talked about GPA. And as a student in her class, I think she shared that she had a 3.86, and she's got straight A's across the board. That being said, there's no way any student at Franklin High School can get above a 4.0, which automatically, I don't want it wrong, maybe the wrong word is penalized, but it hinders your opportunities for scholarships, it hinders your opportunity for college opportunities. And when we look at honors level courses, the classes are more difficult, more challenging. AP courses more difficult, more challenging, more work is expected. Running Start courses are actually college level courses. Again, more challenging, more stringent on the opportunities. Just by doing a quick math in my head with Lily in the room, she went from a 3.86 to a 4.2, just by kind of calculating. So now that gives her more opportunities for post-secondary opportunities for scholarships and for colleges. So when we looked at the grading system, there's a little flaw in there that we're not giving our students here at Franklin
the most opportunities they could have to attend a post-secondary school. So we want to balance the playing field when we send our applications to colleges and universities.
Just want to make sure you're all aware of that. Any questions on that?
I have a question. The new competency-based thing, are the kids going to be able to read, write, and compute any better? Lily is an outstanding student, 4.2, you recognize that. But there's a lot of students, if you look at the annual school scores, are down in the dumps. Are we going to be, we have a new grading system, are we going to have kids who are better able to read, write, and compute?
So the long and short answer is yes, because we're starting with the competency based in the elementary school, middle school.
No,
so
no,
they're-
will they be able, not the competency, will they be able to read, write, and compute? The competency thing is sort of a judgment case of where a person is. Will they be able to read, write, and compute better?
I guess I'd have to say, what do you mean by better? Their
Well,
scores will go up?
Yes.
That's the plan. I mean, that's part of the plan is is working with professional development. We're working on a master's level course to have our teachers do a better job. We're looking at competency-based education where kids have to actually perform and teach the skills back to us of what they're actually learning. So is 100, 100, 100? I don't know, but if I can show an example of how this is made and how I can create different things, right? Those are the skills that we're looking for and what the college is looking for.
Now, these kids are not, the ones I'm worried about aren't going to go to college. And they need to be able to read instructions, do an inventory, that kind of thing. And I get the impression that looking at the grades, that they can't. The last grades on math were horrible.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really worried. We have all this wonderful changes and everything else. We feel real good about it, but they can't read. And they can't compute.
We're working very hard, Dave, on that.
Can I say?
Every day.
The thing is, you're not, because kids aren't getting any better.
Can I say something to that?
Right.
So the test scores that are coming back from the state do not really give you an idea of how the kids are learning. It's not giving you an idea. You're just saying a number. Those children learn in different ways. And for someone to judge the kids based on a number is just, it's not realistic in real life. And you know what? Maybe some of them are not good at computing right when they get out of high school, but when they get on the job, they're gonna learn that stuff and they will get better at it.
If they get a job.
They will get a job. You have to be positive and optimistic about this. You can't just expect failure from the kids because of a test score. These kids are learning constantly, just like we are learning constantly. And it's just wrong to judge them on it based on.
Words. We have scores in this school that are atrocious. And just saying that we have kids who can't learn isn't the answer.
May I say something?
No.
May I?
We're gonna vote on that. We're getting way off topic of a handbook, then you can make your statement.
Sorry.
But we have a handbook we gotta vote on. You wanna make a statement then, that's fine, but I want this handbook out of the way. So, there's a time for that, okay? So we have a handbook, so a motion's been made, okay, it's been seconded. Who seconded that?
Delaney.
Delaney, thank you. Is there any further discussion on the handbook? Okay, seeing none. All in favor to approve the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it, and the high school handbook is approved. Further discussion on the scores will be done in a non-public. It is not on the agenda. We have a non-public at the end. If we want to discuss it then, we will discuss it then.
I just want to.
But I want to stay on the agenda.
Can I just apologize
You
to
can.
the people in my ward
Yep.
for speaking out the way I did? It was probably inappropriate when we were voting on something. But I'm here to fight for the kids.
Well, that's good, and I understand, but we'll do it outside of a meeting when it's on a non-agenda. Okay, so that's gonna end. Dan, do you have anything else?
That is it.
All right, so that's gonna end that. Gonna go on to item number 11, which is our administrative updates. Jewel, do you need a cup of coffee, a cookie, anything?
I expected you to take a break.
But I know you'd hit me.
So my report was in the drive. Obviously, I did print out a few photos because I didn't have them when my report was in there. So those are going around just so people can see the last part of my report and see a visual. But most of the report focused on the professional development that happened over Summer Institute. We had 2 weeks of some amazing work with the staff. We did a lot of place-based education and took the staff around the city of Franklin so they could see some of the amazing things that Franklin has to offer everyone in our city, but especially our kids. We went to Odell Park, we went to Tarban Garden, we had a history lesson from Lee Webb, and it sparked a lot of really great ideas for how our staff can get the kids more involved in the community. So that was the focus of my report. I also did attach the curriculum schedule for the year so people could see the plan for that. We've got some gaps to fill, but we'll fill those once school starts.
You all should have an opportunity to read Jewel's report. Does anybody have any questions for Jewel? All right, thank you, Jewel.
It's been a very busy
Jewel's
summer.
always busy. Thank you, Jewel.
Yep.
All right, we're gonna move on to our special education report with Rebecca.
Hello everyone. Our numbers have gone up by 11 since we last met. I will say we have a lot of movement right now, a lot of kids coming, a lot of kids going. We've been very busy sending out files and intaking files. So it'll be interesting to see how that shakes out over the next few weeks. I've been interviewing a lot this summer, hence this big hiring push. And like we already touched upon, we have 10 new staff, paraprofessionals on, and then I have an interview tomorrow. I haven't interviewed someone and not hired them and had them not accept the position. So everyone I've interviewed, we've successfully hired, which has been really exciting. ESY was a hit. It went very well. I was very impressed by how well it went. And just a big thank you to everyone. Our case managers were looking to be fully staffed in those areas as well, which is a huge success, win-win for the department and the district. To our returning case managers who have been with us before and reached out in wanting to return, which is really exciting. And Bruce Blau being one of them and Kate Evans being the other. Bruce Blau had approached me at the end of the year to talk about developing a collaborative, I've named it the Collaborative Service Delivery Models to Meet Individual Student Needs. So what this is really doing, and this is a rough draft, I'm going to go through it again, it's identifying ways that we can capitalize on staff strengths and student needs, and by combining that, meeting the needs more effectively. So looking at co-teaching, a pull-out resource room, an open resource room, and then, what was the other one? Oh, it's in here. And what I'll do is once this is finalized, I'm happy to share it with the board so you can all review it and see what we're looking to do, starting at the middle school this year and then hoping to broaden it next year. But a lot of really good things happening, and I'm really excited about the upcoming school year. And then the last thing in my board report was just that students can now remain in school until their 22nd birthday, when it used to be their 21st birthday. So that's a change.
All right, any questions for Rebecca? Thank you, Rebecca. All right, next report will be from the Office of School Wellness with Bob.
Thank you for asking me to write a report monthly now. I appreciate that. Actually, I'm glad to have the opportunity to share some of what we've been doing. What I put in the board folder for this month is sort of a template and an outline, so this is maybe a little more in-depth than what I will usually be doing, but I wanted you to have a clear understanding. I first went over the history and funding of the Office of School Wellness. I wanted to provide some updates to that. The SAP grant that I applied for a few weeks ago, I'm having a meeting on Thursday, and we're expected to get that funding. We just need to work out the details. So that will be approximately $53,000 to support some of our prevention programming, mostly that Jamie Bryant, our SAPC, runs, but also some professional development for other staff. We are, hopefully we'll hear in October is the date, but they never do it on time, about a $900,000 grant to be spread over 3 years from the Department of Justice, which would support our MTSSB program. I spend far too much time writing grants. I wish that there was free flowing money for the stuff that we need anyway. And I just found out today, which made me happy and concerned about getting the grant written, but there's another grant that's due at the beginning of October through the U.S. Department of Education. Again, it's meant to address the mental health and behavioral health needs of students, especially in response to the pandemic. So I will be writing that grant as well. Again, there's usually some lag time before we hear about things. I wanted to highlight for you, and I won't go through this because you all have it in the board report, but the two major initiatives that we're working on from our office this year are MTSSB, Multi-Tiered Systems of Support for Behavior, and that addresses a lot of what we've been talking about with the handbook and having clear, consistent expectations with clear follow-through that communicated to all. So when David's talking about, he's not gonna set the rule on hacks, it's a process. So what we're gonna be working on this year is making sure all 3 buildings have a process for doing that. And there'll be a team at each building that will be working on school-wide expectations. We'll be educating students, staff, everybody in the building has a responsibility in meeting those expectations so that any student who walks down the hall, once they decide what they're doing at the high school, any adult should be able to say to a student, take your hat off, you're not allowed to have that here. Because it's going to be the same everywhere. So that's what we're working on for MTSSB, and I'll provide some updates as we go along. My goal for this year is that by the end of the school year, every building will have a fully functioning, well-functioning universal team that's got some structure in place, and then we'll build up to the other tiers from there. The other main goal for the year is to spread, with our STOP grant that we already have from the Department of Justice, we have developed a core team for our behavior intervention team to address school safety issues. So that core team has had a lot of training, using some evidence-based models, developing a structure. We will be rolling that out this year to the counseling team and the rest of the school community, so that we have a more structured system in place, much like we do with our suicide ideation protocol. We have some very clear parameters of how we address that. This protocol will address things like threats to others. It will still encompass the suicide ideation, but it's really going to focus on school safety threats. So we'll be continuing to get some additional training for our staff and rolling that out to the rest of the community. Wanted to mention that both of these initiatives are done in conjunction with our community partners. So on our core team, we have the children's director from Riverbend. We have the behavioral health director from Health First. We have our SRO will be sitting on that team, and we have the fire chief sitting on that team. So it's also an effort to bring in the community partners and make sure we're all on the same page.
Any questions for Bob? Thank you, Bob. And I challenge any of you, if you ever want to go watch someone go running in 100 different directions, go with Bob someday, okay? If she's not writing a grant or at a meeting or helping at one of the schools, good luck to keep up with her.
If I'm writing a grant, I'm hiding something.
Yes, usually. No, thank you, Bob. All right, we're going to go on and with our first report of the school year. We'll start out with the Paul Smith Principal's report with Principal LaRush.
Thank you. Thank you. So I had an idea what to talk about, but after the last discussion, there's so many more passions. I won't talk about Pajama Day because of school. So enrollment in all grades is about the mid-60s, which is pretty solid and continuous of what we've seen before. Our preschool, we've got 22 students, but we have a waiting list of students too to come in. It would be nice someday to be able to kind of bolster that. It's just a great opportunity to get that early learning, early intervention in. For myself as a principal coming in, I've done this before. In the summertime, there's not a lot of teachers around at first. You've got summer school going on. So the guys I befriend are the custodians and maintenance staff. And I guess I could have acknowledged this, but I wanted to say it's an observation acknowledgement. Dale, Brian, and Ed over at the school, and Steve coming in have done a great job. Not only getting the school ready, but doing some painting, being there. Whenever you needed something, can I get this, that? They're just really doing a great job over there. We have 3 trailers full of things, and they are, I've removed a lot of it, put it back in the classrooms, and when they did take things apart in the school, they took tables, took the legs off, stored them, then they spent the hot days of summer putting them back on, getting them in, so They did a great job. Teachers are appreciative. They had to go to desks during COVID, now they're back to tables. It's an elementary school. That's what they prefer. The rugs didn't survive too well, but I had the opportunity to meet with the PTO. They've got some money aside, they want to help out, so they're going to look into buying proper rugs. And as Dan and I have talked about many times, Dan Clark, it has to be a specific rug, and it has to meet a certain fire code. Even though it says fire resistant, that's not enough, so we really want to get the proper rugs in so it's safe for the children. So the PTO will work with us to kind of phase in some rugs for the kids. It's been great working with Ginny and Dave. One of the things that we're doing is making a linear connection to all the grade levels. It's going to be academic, behavioral, and a lot of the handbook was done like that with the assistant principals working, and Dave wearing 2 hats was really tough on him, but good for us because we got a lot of good input. Going back to the MTSSB, which the behavior, we do have behavior at elementary school. We'll try that this year. Because in every classroom, until you have good classroom management, you can't teach anything. The kids can't learn. So you have to create the right environment. Over the past couple of years with COVID, every school I've seen, and I've been at a few interim positions, every school is behind where they'd like to be. So there's not the time to panic. We teach the students and we measure what we're teaching them. The state measures something that they find important. Sometimes they align, sometimes they don't. The children won't always learn at the pace that the state measures them at, so there'll just be a little bit different scores that you're seeing. My take is what the teacher tells me the student is learning is the most important thing. I've had the opportunity to work with the leadership team. We met, we're going to meet again, and we're reestablishing some things that kind of were set aside during COVID. Part of that is leadership, but also part of that is the regular instruction in class has been different for the past few years. We want to get back to normalcy there. We're looking at curriculum, and Jill's been great getting resources and extra things that we've needed. We use a math program called Zern, and there are other math programs that can augment that. So we got those. Ginny has connections around the state, so we got some new workbooks in and things like that at a very good cost, so that's going to help the teachers. And we're going to focus on what we need to teach at that level. We've got reading and we've got math, but we also incorporate social studies and science. It's kind of called reading in the content area. So while you're reading, you read nonfiction books. It would be about science, social studies, doing the scientific method, but at a 3rd and below level. So 4th on, you're going to get a little bit more in depth, but we want to make sure we cover all of the topics that we do. I had someone mentioned, I think, in the makerspace about community, and that word's come up quite a few times. And I see a school as a community institution. So we've had people come in that have been from the police department. Daisy from the food bank has come in to work with us. We're talking about gathering clothes, getting them into children's hands that need them in the cold weather. I think this has been going on for decades. So you go to school in the morning in the fall, it's cool, it gets warm, you run out for recess, you forget your coat. We build up coat supplies. So we're cleaning them, getting them ready for children to reuse them again. Wrote some notes during this. And we're also kind of established norms as a staff. And norms for children, what are the expectations in class, what are the 3 rules that teachers find important. I can't report on them now because that's best done as a group. So when the teachers come back next week, these are the things we'll start our first couple of days doing is working with them. What are the things that you value? What can't we lose? What do we want to expand upon? So that's going to be next week and then moving forward. And then on the 13th, we have a teacher PD day that we'll have a few days under our belt, and then we can regather and kind of look at where we are and go from there. I know I've only had 5 minutes, so. Took some
Are there any questions for Mr. Loresh? All right, thanks, Bob.
Thank you.
All right, we're gonna move on now to our principal's report with Principal Everett.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Nice to see you all. So in my report, I told you that our enrollment had gone up to 393, but right now I think I'm actually at 396. And that could even be a little bit different because I think George told me we had some more. So we're continuing to see our numbers change at the middle school. Bear in mind, however, we do have 5 grade levels as opposed to some of the other buildings that have less. Things have been super busy at the middle school, starting off with the church group that came to do the community outreach projects. They were really wonderful people, really thoughtful. They were great guests. We enjoyed interacting with them, and I think our students that were in the building for summer school enjoyed it as well, because they were just like, who are these people? So that was kind of cool for them to see other people coming in. Speaking of summer school, I should have probably done a shout out, but I didn't. We had Bree Vandell running our summer school this summer, and she really did a phenomenal job and went on vacation during part of it. I don't think she vacationed much because she was like on speed dial with everybody. But we had run it as 3 different collective groups in which students signed up for something that interested them, and they were immersed in that particular area, and through that still did writing, reading, mathematical calculations, a lot of science. One of them was a robotics group. We also had a music group, and we had a gardening group who they actually did gardening and cooking with some of the different things from the garden. All of them were incorporating math and science and reading and writing and expression and art. And it was really lovely way to get to know that group of students this summer. Vicki and I have been in the building pretty much consistently since the 1st of July. We have been able to get to know quite a few staff, and we have made quite a few changes just to make things flow a little bit differently. We have rearranged where some programs are. We've been working, with Rebecca. She has helped out with some of the programs that we have running out of the middle school this year. And I feel like we have a really good baseline for supporting students where they are, which is our most important job, and moving them forward. We're really looking forward to having all of the teachers come back in, but because all of the professional development has been at the middle school this summer, we've been lucky in being able to interact with students from all 3 of the district schools. And so it's just really helped us to sort of get a little bit of our finger on the pulse of what teachers are thinking and feeling. And I have to be honest with you, I felt like what I'm seeing here at the Franklin District has been far more energizing and positive than a lot of other teachers that I talk to out in the state from other schools and districts that I'm acquainted with. I really feel like the teachers in Franklin have been pedal to the metal and really gearing up for the upcoming school year. I'm not going to say we don't have challenges. We absolutely have challenges at the middle school, but we've really been lucky with our team leaders and our hiring, and it looks like all of the little barriers that have been put in front of, we figured out ways to bridge ourselves over it, and we are ready to roll. And I hope you guys are all going to come to that opening breakfast, because I think it would be really nice for the staff to see you guys there. Any questions for me? I put a lot of stuff in the report, so yeah.
Any questions for Jane? All right, thank you, Jane.
You're welcome.
As Vicki sits there, just so you know, in a couple months, you'll get your opportunity. Same with Nicole, same with David's assistant principal. In October, you'll start giving disciplinary reports to the school board, so.
Oh, there'll be nothing.
Yeah, there'll be nothing.
Discipline.
So thank you. All right, we'll move on to the high school principal's report. Dave, give your report.
Sure. I could probably just say ditto.
Ditto.
And be done. But I know I have to do a little bit more than that. But I'll be quick. Again, I must admit it's been an amazing experience walking in here July 1st, and the energy that we talked about with the staff being welcoming and like accepting the challenges that are ahead and being excited about the new school year. I'll give you kind of just 3 things that we're really focusing on. Our leadership team has been meeting regularly on the opening days. I think I shared with you what in the report that's going to look like. If you think of a conference you went to with keynote speakers, that's more what the first 2 days will look like. Transitioning the students into the school and acclimating them to Franklin High School. The second major piece that's been happening this week or the last few weeks, is redoing the schedule. When you lose 3 faculty members, or you don't have 3 faculty members, you kind of have to redo the schedule. So, been very fortunate that we've had a couple teachers come back and say, yep, I know how to do this, I'm gonna take this on, and they've spent, Ariel spent, I think, the entire day in the assistant principal's office today running the master schedule to update it and putting in our new parameters so that we do have a schedule when kids walk in 7 days or 10 days, whatever that may be. So that's a good piece. And then the last, another piece is that we've tried to up our communication with the faculty and staff through a calendar. We have a Google School Calendar, so they know everything that's happening in the school, from homecoming events to athletic events to meetings across the district. So trying to really embrace the communication and letting people know. And then the final piece that I'll talk about is we're, again, embracing the MTSSB, the building the culture and climate here in Franklin. It's a lot of proud traditions, and we're excited about that. And how can we connect our students with our faculty and staff, knowing that if students have positive relationships with adults in a building, that they're more apt to come to school and spend time here and doing their very best academically, socially, and emotionally. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Any questions for Dave? Dave? All right, last report of the night, we'll go to our facilities director, Dan Clark.
Good evening. Tighten the seatbelt, guys, it's gonna be a long one. First and foremost, I want to thank all the board members. The home ec teacher came into the school recently, noticed her brand new stoves, and she was ecstatic. So she wanted to make sure that I told you thank you for everything you do and for donating for the stoves. Cleanings were about 90%. And we're planning on having everything ready for the first of the year done. Unfortunately, with the middle school, we had to bring in custodians from other schools, thankfully, which were willing to go help because of the work camp and the summer school put them behind a little bit. But Paul Smith school guys were up on it. They were ahead of the game, so they did go over and they helped out people in the middle school. And I did a couple of floors for them, and so we're back on track. So everything looks good as far as opening for the school and the teachers coming back. I do want to say this year was a lot better as far as the previous years with people coming in and walking on our wax floors. We only had one incident so far this year, which is fantastic.
When did that happen?
That happened, yeah. And that teacher no longer has feet, but no, it was a very it was an odd thing what happened, and it wasn't marked properly, and it worked out. It was fine. We caught it in time. We waxed the floor, and there was no harm, no foul. I was going to tell Ginny and Vicky that they need to pick out the tile colors for the school. Now it's been approved. What happens is in the middle school we have 3 different color tiles in the cafeteria, and they've agreed that they're going to make whatever design they want. And ADF said they'll let them do the color changes at no cost. So it's a light blue and a gray and a dark gray right now. So I think they're going to change it up, but they need to go down and do the color scheme themselves. It's up to them to change the colors. If I go with it, I'm going with the same scheme. So I gave it. They're going to go down and do that once that gets approved. So thank you for that. The GMI project at the Franklin Middle School, thank you for approving that. My game plan is to have that done and finished before the start of school. GMI's on it. They just needed a green light, and we got it rolling. So I believe within the next week we'll have that complete finished, and Ken would be proud of us the way that school's going to look. He's been fighting for that for a while. The parking lots, the lines have all been repainted where the numbers need to be. The numbers have been done. So at the high school here, they give the students certain spots. We had to have them numbered. That's been done. I've been asked to check out the bleachers and the condition of the bleachers. Update on the bleachers. The repairs have been made where they need to be made on the metal. Structures are 100% safe. We had approximately 8 students work with us this summer. All the boards on the bleachers that were bad have been replaced. The students, along with my grounds guys, painted them all. So it looks real nice down there. So come teacher day, you'll notice that there's a big change. Everything's glowing down there. The field right now being lined for sports. My grounds guy's happy, we got him a new lawnmower, just in time, so he's out getting that ready, and starting tomorrow, he'll be painting all the lines for all 3 schools for the field, for the sports, for the fall sports. The new tables have been ordered for the cafeteria, not these, but to replace the kids' tables for the lunchroom. We're going with round tables with benches instead of individual seats. They are on order. Unfortunately, with trucking and everything, this and that, they're not going to make it here for the opening of school. But they are being built, and they are going to be on their way. So hopefully here within the next few months, we'll see the new tables in the caf here, and that's going to be a big help. Not only for the kids, but for the custodials trying to clean up. We're going with the tables that you have at the middle school, Ken. A lot easier to move. I'm still one position down. What's that? That's it. Yeah. No, I know, but I know you know what the tables were at the school. We're still one position down for custodial here at the high school, second shift. I do have 2 applicants. I got an interview, and both were previous graduates of the high school. So I'm going to interview them, and hopefully I can get one of the 2 of them to come in for the second shift and work with. We'll have 3 on, 1 for each floor, so that'll be great. My maintenance guy is doing a great job. He stepped right in. He's a gopher. He's always looking forward, and he's helped quite a bit as far as his contacts, because he came from the city. So he has some ins. We had the fire department come in and spray the windows off with his contacts. We had the containers moved at the middle school, so if the GMI started, they would be out of their way with his contacts. So he is a big asset to us. He's doing a great job. This year is 3 years for lead testing throughout all 3 schools. I've done all the state programs. I've done all the paperwork, paid for what we have to pay for. We're going to be coming in and evaluating the schools here in the next month. With that being said, the water testing has been changed down to a 0.5 level now. So the recommendations of the federal government and the state with our schools here, with what the water quality was at our last testing, met with them, and they were suggesting that the bubblers have filters changed, which we do normally, but the cold water in the kitchens that they wash dishes with is a concern. The hot water is going to be set at a certain temperature by law. The cold water, they suggested putting water filters in because they wash dishes with it, which is food. So talked with Jefferson, we purchased all the filters, and all the filters have been installed. All the water testing was done, and it's been sent out now for evaluation of if we're going to be good or if we're not going to be good at the next step. But my feeling is that with the filters that are in place prior and what we did, everything they suggested, I plan on, it's going to be a no-brainer. We should be in good shape this year, and that's with all 3 schools. Other than that, we're getting ready for the fall sports, put the lawnmowers away, get the plows out.
Don't even say it.
And we move on. Any questions?
Any questions for Dan? All right, thank you, Dan.
Thank
Great
you.
job. Have a good night.
Yes, sir.
All right, so that's going to close out agenda item 11, which is our, and now we're going to go to agenda item 12, which is our policy. So I'm going to go through this quickly. Okay. Everybody should have had the chance on the policy to do the second reads. These are from 2 months ago. Nobody should have had the opportunity to do it. So I'm going to go through this quickly. Second read. This is for second read and approval. You see them all. Reporting child abuse and neglect, staff conduct, mandatory code of conduct reporting, all employees, drug-free workplace and drug-free schools, staff participation in political activities, staff concerns, complaints, and grievances, family medical leave, FMLA, part-time and substitute professional staff employment, teacher performance and evaluation, use of restraints and seclusion, school guidance and counseling program, professional staff development opportunities, board member indemnification, naming of district buildings and facilities, background investigations, gifted and talented students, volunteers, student publications, student search in their property, search of student automobiles on school properties, supervision of students, visitors to the school, enrollment, and student records and access, FERPA. We need a motion to approve for second reading and approval.
So move the motion that we approve the second reading.
Okay, so motion's been made by Maureen, seconded by Deb. Is there any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it. Colleen will update all them. There is no second readings this month. We do have some withdrawals. We have 6 withdrawals, excuse me. The withdrawals are all being withdrawn because they're duplicates with other policies, as you can see on your school board agenda. So we have the rate of pay for substitutes was student publication, interrogation and searches, supervision of students, visitors to the school, and reporting child abuse and neglect, okay? So we have current policies that are duplicated with other ones, so we need to withdraw them. All right, so we need a motion on the withdraw.
So moved.
So moved by Deb, do I have a second? Second by Maureen. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it, the policies are withdrawn. Okay, we're gonna move on to agenda item number 13, late items or other. Does anybody have any late items or other items to be brought before the board? Seeing none, I'll move on. Agenda item 14, this is my second public participation of the evening. As also, most of you know, there was a law passed that says all school boards now have to have public participations at their board meetings. They have to allow 30 minutes of open time. I have had that, it's been in our policy for the 8 years that I've been your school board chair, and we actually do 2 of them. So we are fulfilling to the new laws that was just passed on public participation. So this public participation, again, I give no more than 30 minutes, and I ask you to keep your comments to 3 minutes. You must state your name and what ward you live in. Go ahead, sir.
My name is Yama Ploskonka. I live in Ward 3, and I'm chagrined that our principals here have moved away, because I am ashamed, I am chagrined, I don't have words for what are the educational principles. Where is the great American educators when it comes to trusting students, building democracy, trusting the parents? You are trying to set these nice people that I'm sure are experts, are trying to set up a policy top-down for the dress code, asking for kids to be pressed by a decision that they had no part of. When you have all, and Christine, you know that, you have the opportunity to do this by consensus, have the teachers work with the students about understanding a common sense of dress code. I'm not saying that we should allow everything, but instead of going top-down, allow parents. Thank you very much, Mr. Carey. One for the team. You were trying to stand up for what your daughters want. And you also, Christine. Parents should be involved in making decisions. I have read the reports from principals. They all say, oh, we had participation of parents in... Do they say about what? No, they say we have had participation of parents. I wonder what? About, I don't know, the color of something, when there are things that kids and parents care about. We should actually encourage a conversation in our schools to find a sense, and what you will achieve with that. If somebody is breaking the dress code that has been built by the students themselves will be policing that. We won't have that the most ridiculous way of sending somebody to detention is because of a dress code violation. That it happens, that some students want really to make trouble. Yes, that happens. But it's worse when we're trying to impose things from the top. I'm sorry, I just believe in kids. I believe in kids, I believe in people. And I don't believe in trying to impose things when the interested parties do not get to say anything. And I appreciate, Mr. Dow, that I have a right as a citizen to say something, and to our legislators that made it as a law. Thank you.
Within our room at the cafeteria, so I will close that. We do have a need for a non-public under agenda item 15, so we need a motion to go in.
I make the motion that we go into non-public session.
Okay, motion's been made. Do I have a second? Second by Cecile. Okay, and I need a roll call vote on that, please.
Maureen Abe?
Yes.
Deb Brown?
Yes.
Elaine Carrier?
Yes.
Warren Cass? Yes. Cecile Cloninger? Yes. Tim Dow?
Yes.
Christie Martin?
Yes.
Dave Chesterton?
Yes.
Good. Are we stopping straight?
What I want and what I should do.
Right?
I have a 2-minute drive.
Are we